Hey everyone, it's Suzanne, and I want to thank you for joining us for the So Suzy podcast, where we help you find a business out of the hobby you love. You will also be able to get the show notes and the links we reference by visiting us at sosuzypodcast.com. 572 families took a chance on Greendale, Wisconsin. They had all come to live in a village called Greendale, lush with gentle hills, thick woods, nearby farms, interspersed with numerous lakes and ponds tucked invitingly around a 700-acre park. These families would be pioneers in a new concept of family living. The Greenbelt Towns concept officially became a reality as part of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal policy. On April 30th, 1935, he signed an executive order authorizing the resettlement of destitute and low-income families from rural areas. A special relief agency, the Resettlement Administration, was created to supervise the project. Fast forward to 1990, and Greendale was a ghost town. The buildings were badly in need of paint, facades were broken, shingles were missing, windows were broken. To the chagrin of many who loved this little village, it appeared the once proud Greendale was doomed. Then a new beginning. A revived spirit and facelift materialized in 1990 when local publisher Roy Ryman announced his Grand Haven investment firm would buy all the commercial properties on both sides of Main Street. My wife and I were just as saddened as other Greendale residents to watch what was slowly happening to this historic little town, Ryman relates. We'd lived here for more than 30 years. Our kids had been well served by the Greendale school system, and many of our 500-plus employees were from the Greendale area. The whole idea and concept of renovating the downtown area came to me one Saturday afternoon as I was walking through the woods near our home. I was mulling over the problems we were having at our corporate offices. Too many of our subscribers were just stopping in for a visit unannounced. The interest of visitors were flattering but frustrating. They were all very nice people, but dozens kept showing up at our door, and they all wanted a tour. They wanted to walk through our facility, meet as many of our staff members as possible, then sit down and visit. And if they ever got into one of our test kitchens, they didn't want to leave, period. So that Saturday afternoon, it suddenly struck me that I could solve two problems at once if we could switch that traffic from our door to downtown Greendale. The merchants there needed the traffic, and we needed to get rid of it. The solution was suddenly crystal clear. Why not rent the old Donner liquor store on the corner in downtown Greendale and turn it into a company visitor center? He mused. It could emulate all the things subscribers would normally see at the company: a working test kitchen, an editor's office, a display of various items sent in by readers, a small theater with a video detailing the company's history, a bargain basement offering closeout items from our catalog, etc. We then urge our 15 million subscribers to come for a visit, but not to our offices. Instead, we'd invite them to this new visitor center in downtown Greendale. Perfect. That would steer subscribers away from our door and toward the village where they desperately needed. An estimated 200,000 people now visit Greendale annually. Little wonder, since the 15 million plus subscribers to Ryman Publications' 13 national magazines are often encouraged to come for a visit. These magazines reach a huge audience with more than 3.2 readers per copy. Over 50 million people read the publications. It's estimated that 1 in every 12 homes in America now receives at least one Ryman magazine. Subscribers are urged to visit through periodic articles detailing the village's unique Greenbelt town history and illustrated with beautiful photos. As a result, many visitors appear to know a good deal about the village before they arrive. Again and again, especially at Christmas time, when all the buildings on both sides of Broad Street are outlined in over 100,000 holiday lights, visitors say. This place looks just like a Norman Rockwell greeting card. That comment was heard so often, Ryman bought an entire Rockwell collection, including every one of the 322 covers Rockwell painted for the Saturday Evening Post and moved it to Greendale. That exhibit, now on display in the downtown area, helps the village appear even more like a Rockwell town. Flowers are the one thing any summer visitor is sure to notice in Greendale. And with more than 37,000 annuals planted each spring in beds, baskets, pots, and window boxes, it's no wonder. It's noteworthy that the care of all these flowers is undertaken in good part by more than 60 Greendale volunteers. The idea came from Ryman, who explains there's a senior apartment facility within walking distance of the village center, and one of those residents mentioned how much she missed her flowers and garden since she sold her home and moved into her apartment. I gave it some thought and then simply swiped the concept of the Adopt a Highway program and began an Adopt a Plot program here. It was an immediate hit. Any resident can adopt a large or small plot along Broad Street as they'd like. We put a small sign in each bed, "This plot cared for by Ella Smith," or whomever. Grand Haven takes care of the watering and fertilizing, but these volunteers take care of all the weeding and deadheading. They do a terrific job and enjoy the sense of involvement. We give the volunteers a newly designed shirt each spring that says "WOW" in large letters for the front that stand for Weed Out Warriors. Greendale has also become known for its daffodils, and that all started as a result of an article written in Ryman Publications' Birds and Blooms magazine. It announced plans to plant a large daffodil garden in Dale Park so it can be referred to as Daffodil Park. This large flower garden would be designed in the shape of a sun, with the sun planted in red tulips and the daffodils planted in 50 long rows to form the rays spreading out from the sun. Why 50 rays? There would be one row for each state, Alabama through Wyoming, and the bulbs from each state would be planted by their respective row. Ultimately, there would be 51 rows, with an extra one added for bulbs received from Canadian subscribers. The aim was to make Greendale the daffodil capital of the country, the article stated. To get the project underway, Grand Haven would donate 2,000 bulbs for the daffodil garden. Subscribers were told they could consider sending in a few bulbs of their own, so one day they could say they helped make Greendale the daffodil capital. After the issue with this article went in the mail, the editors and Grand Haven staff waited to see what kind of response it would receive. In 2 weeks, they were surprised. In 3 weeks, they were amazed. And in a month, they were overwhelmed. More than 54,000 daffodil bulbs were received from subscribers. Some contributors had sent 2 or 3, but others sent a dozen or more, with notes saying how proud they were to have their bulbs be part of making Greendale known for its abundance of daffodils. They'd all follow the recommended directions to cleaning soil off the freshly dug bulbs, inserting them in a plastic bag, and attaching their name to the package. On one hand, the editors were delighted. On the other hand, they were now facing a dilemma. Only 7,000 bulbs were needed to plant the sunbed. What would they do with the other 47,000 extra bulbs, now stored in a huge pile in the basement of the hardware store? After giving it some thought, they came up with a solution. They announced in the local newspaper that on a specified Saturday, Greendale residents could pick up as many of the bulbs as they wanted, as long as they showed their driver's license to assure they were locals. But each recipient had to promise 2 things. 1, that they would plant the bulbs in their front yard so the daffodils could be seen from the street and appreciated by people driving through the village. 2, that they would save the donor's name and address, then send a thank you note and a photo when the flowers were in full bloom. As a result of the second provision, daffodil connections were soon formed across the country. Many donors and recipients started corresponding, and in some cases, they developed such a friendship that the 2 parties have even visited back and forth. Since daffodils propagate quickly, the number of yellow and gold blooms has annually doubled and redoubled throughout the village. Plus, Grand Haven plants several thousand more additional bulbs each fall in selected areas, further enhancing the village's growing image as the daffodil capital. As for the original daffodil garden in Dale Park, the rays of the sun have multiplied and grown together, yielding a welcome burst of bloom each spring. The garden isn't left idle after the daffodils die out in mid-May. Gold marigolds are then planted in the sun and red salvias planted to replace the rays, offering summer-long beauty for the park's frequent visitors. By the end of May, the 37,000-plus annuals planted in Broad Street beds, hanging baskets, and storefront pots are ready to add their brilliance to the village center. Complementing these blooms are 3,000 flowering trees that have been planted in the village since the renovation, adding a deep red color to the hue and a bed of roses just across the bridge in Dale Park. Those roses were planted there for a special reason. That variety, the knockout rose, was named Rose of the Year by the National Rose Society in 2001, and that very rose was developed in the basement of a Greendale home in the 1970s. Perhaps the best way to recapture and appreciate the long and unique journey that has taken Greendale and its people to this time and day is to stand on the steps of the village hall and gaze down Broad Street. The effect is best late on a quiet summer evening, as shadows are lengthening and the sun is softening the colors of the street's bountiful flowers, vibrant trees, and green grass expanses. The sights and sounds combine both yesterday and today. The street still holds the hopes and dreams of those pioneers who persevered here. It's truly the symbol of their tribulations and triumphs. But it also echoes the spirit and vision of those who followed and enriched this historical village ever since. From a town with a blighted village center that faced oblivion in 1996, Greendale, thanks to the joint efforts of Grand Haven, hundreds of volunteers, and a village board that carefully plotted its future, has robustly rebounded. Today it's often called the Jewel of Milwaukee's suburbs by Wisconsinites who frequent its quaint shops and homey restaurants. Most importantly, its history and ambiance have become so well known to a wider audience that the village has become a travel destination, attracting thousands of visitors from across the U.S. and abroad. Greendale, it's truly the little village that could and did. The story we just read is a condensed version from the book of Greendale, The Little Village That Could and Did. Last week, Janice and I drove 24 hours to get to Greendale, Wisconsin, to attend Junkie Fest at Gina K's Village Paper and Ink in Greendale. From the moment we drove into Greendale, I was captivated. The green grass, flowers and gazebo, village hall, the little shops, people deadheading flowers, the streams, parks, squirrels frolicking in the grass, the smell of fresh baked bread coming from the bakery, Norman Rockwell painting in front of Village Hall with his parka on, since it rained the night before, and all of the pleasant people. Every single person we walked past was exceptionally nice, and I felt like I had found heaven on earth. As my mom, Janice, and I walked the streets and park, I couldn't help but smile in awe of everything around me. There was a malt shop with real live malt people, with a sign for a showing of Sandlot at Furch's Malt Shop that Friday, and it made me wish Garrett and Jordan were there to go and watch it. They may be in their 20s, but it was one of their favorite movies growing up. I just couldn't get enough of this cute little village, and I hadn't even been inside of Gina K's shop yet. When 10 o'clock came around and her doors opened, it was like walking into Disneyland for crafters. Village Paper and Ink is bright and sunny. The staff is extremely friendly and helpful. There are so many of Gina's cards displayed for inspiration. A man room for those people who would rather chill than shop with their wives. And if you have a question on how to use something, there's a demo area where one of the staff or even Gina herself will show you how to use it. I even got a first-hand demonstration from Miss Gina on how to use Ziggs. The shop is laid out so well that even with 40 of us from Junkie Fest, the staff and regular customers, it wasn't crowded or caused us to feel rushed. Ileana even had a cart she was pushing around loaded up with goodies. Emily, Hannah, Sue, Debbie, Sammy, and Kathy made us feel right at home, helping us find stamps and supplies, rushing around plucking Prismacolor pencils for Chris Dayton's coloring class. They all went above and beyond to make the weekend flow seamlessly. It truly was the most perfect place to have the first open Junkie Fest, and the admins did an incredible job at putting it all together. Marcy, Julie, Chris, and Kim came in for the event, but unfortunately, Lou couldn't make it. But we missed her terribly. She was never far from our thoughts, and I didn't even need to call her for bail money. I had a definite fangirl moment when I got to meet the amazing Karen Hightower. I absolutely love her cards, and we became fast friends and crafty sisters. Karen, Chris, Sean, and Gina all taught classes over the 2-day event, and it was so much fun watching our fellow junkies take turns sitting in the chair and practicing their, "Hi everyone, it's Gina K, and today on Stamp TV, there were giveaways, prizes, and goodie bags galore from Gina K, Kathy, Dana, Brutus Monroe, Pretty Pink Posh, Thermo Web, and from Rena K, who momentarily did a family takeover. Ileana from My Sweet Petunia gave away several of the new Misty bags to a few lucky winners. They haven't been released yet, so the bags were a definite hit. As incredibly exciting as it was to take the classes from Gina, Chris, Karen, and Sean, I must say that Junkie Fest was more than just a retreat with cool giveaways. It was about building friendships, camaraderie, and the importance of getting away from the computer and interacting with one another. It is about the hugs and laughter, finding inspiration and claiming your creative mojo, learning not from the teachers, but from our peers. Gina showed me how to use zigs. Chris helped Joanne pick out colors for her coloring. One of the ladies showed Janice and I what Gamsol was and how to use it. I helped Kathy figure out the scan and cut and threaten the laminator for Kim. We all came away from Junkie Fest with new friends and sore faces. Marcy even dislocated her jaw from all the laughing, and we left Greendale with memories that will never be forgotten. It doesn't matter if you're a card maker, knitter, planner junkie, or crafter. After Junkie Fest, I realize that getting out, meeting new people with similar interests is so important. It fills your soul with happiness. The creative juices start flowing, and I didn't even swear while I was there. Greendale, Suzy, is quite fabulous, and I am dying to go back. The Hampton Inn in Franklin has a shuttle that took us back and forth to Greendale, and the staff and drivers were incredible and accommodating. JJ was our afternoon driver, and she has become my mother's latest adopted daughter. But I am totally trying to talk Jennifer, Josephine, Justine, and Kaimona into a mini getaway weekend to Greendale, and the Hampton Inn will make it so much easier for everyone. The rooms are huge. The shuttle will take us to Greendale. Gina's Village Paper and Ink is definitely a crafter's Camelot and the perfect girlfriend destination. If you missed out on Junkie Fest this year, I highly recommend you start saving your pennies now. During our 24-hour drive back home, Janice and I did a lot of brainstorming. And since we had the opportunity to drive through so many states, we did a quick rundown of how you can make some extra bucks for next year. Those of you living in New Mexico, you could totally pick up cans on the side of the road and take them to recycling. Maybe even see about doing a neighborhood or highway trash cleanup business. Out of the 8 states we drove through, New Mexico is definitely the trashiest. If you live in Colorado, fudge shops are a huge deal. Open one next to the pot shop and you should have enough money saved up to bring your 5 best friends with you next year. Iowa, I don't know what to tell you. Your state is the cleanest we encountered. The roads, the bathrooms, gas stations, holy cow, I am still talking about how clean and beautiful it is. Personally, I have decided to try and get a job as the voice for GPS. Janice and I figured we could create 2 settings, one for Greendale Suzy and the other for Snarky Suzy. Depending on your mood or state you're currently traveling through, you could adjust the settings. Greendale Suzy would be all like, "Turn right at the next light to visit Heaven on Earth. Please enjoy your stay in Greendale. Your husband just sent you a text. He said to have fun and spend as much as you would like. You have reached your destination." Snarky Suzy would be great when you realize you've just spent the last 10 hours in Colorado driving in the middle of nowhere. Continue driving on the current road as you have just bypassed the freeway entrance and this road will take you 3 hours out of your way. It truly sucks to be you. Or better yet, maybe a daily horoscope and weather update app for Greendale, Suzy. Today will be perfect in Greendale. The birds will be singing, the squirrels frolicking, the flowers blooming, and you look like you have lost 20 pounds. Enjoy a cupcake on me. 24 hours in the car definitely brings on the silliness. And even though the ground continues to move and my butt is still numb, I will admit that it was well worth the drive. I also want to say a big thank you to Stamp Junkies, Gina Kay, her staff, the companies and people who sent the goodies, the entire village of Greendale, the Hampton Inn, and everyone behind the scenes who helped to make Junkie Fest special for everyone. And by all means, if you have a chance to go to a crafting retreat, do yourself a favor and go. Enjoy some me time with your girlfriends. Get away from the computer and meet up with your favorite crafters. Find inspiration in those around you. And until next time, this is Suzanne, and you have been listening to the So Suzy podcast. Happy stamping!